everyone, welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you're new here. I'm Christine, and today's video is going to be a sewing tutorial as we make my new beauty bags. So this is a brand new pattern that I've just launched, and the pattern actually came about because I started designing these, or wanting to make them out of scraps for my slow fashion brand, Lindy. So you'll see the labels, and these are all samples that will soon be listed on my own website there. And I figured, why not share the pattern? These are some really fun shapes and sizes and things. So that's how the pattern came about. I know it's a little bit different than my normal clothing patterns, but they're still really, really, really fun. So these make really great gifts, as well as just for yourself, for travel, or for various things. Like, I actually keep my phone in my purse. I put it in one of these style bags that I had made before, and I just put my phone in there to extra protect it. So you can use them for not only toiletries, but electronics. When you travel, you can put your cords in them. You can put in craft supplies or painting supplies or knitting supplies. So there's lots of different uses, and they're pretty fun to use up some of your scraps as well. So we have this small box style, which I made in this. This is some fabric that I got at the market. That is like a vintage, like a rose pattern that I really liked, and I ended up putting a red checker inside in the lining. So there are two sizes of box styles. Then we have the larger version. So two sizes of the boxes. They are fully lined inside with no seams. So I'm going to show you exactly how we accomplish that. There's a string there. How we accomplish that in today's video. It's really, really simple. They also have a little pocket inside, which is handy. All of them have pockets inside. So you have a little pocket. I like to put Band-Aids or little things in the little pocket. So you have an inside pocket in all of them. And the box one has little side tabs. And then, of course, the zipper. And yeah, that's about it. You can put a little pom-pom or a ribbon or some kind of little charm on your zipper pull if you'd like. I'm still kind of figuring out what I want to do on mine. But that's the small square. Then we have, or both sides of the square box. Then we have the larger flat style. So the small is this one, super cute. I love this fabric. This was actually a pillowcase that I thrifted and made it into some bags. And then I put the pink gingham inside. Again, we have the little interior pocket as well. And yeah, the zipper, little side, so you have some space in the bottom. And then the large one, this is that same fabric. I made this as a little set. It's really cute. And so then this is the larger. Same basic details as the little guy. Then we have one that I really think is so fun, and this is our round. So this one has 4 interior pockets as well as the space in the center, and then you just tie it up like that. And it has the bottom. So this one is really fun for larger toiletries. I also think this is going to be a really cute beach kind of bag. You can fill it with stuff like your water bottle or whatever, and kind of throw it over your shoulder as a little fashion bag. I can just see it. Just working as almost like a casual kind of purse like that. So that's the idea with the little round. I think in terms of complicatedness, probably the round has the most details, the most complicated, but the rest really go together quite simply. I'm going to show you exactly how we do it in this video. If you haven't already downloaded the pattern, you can do so on my website at sewingandthecity.com. So let's talk about the supplies that we need to make our bags. So for the box bag style, we're going to need a zipper based on whatever size you want to make. So you'll need your zipper. And as far as what kind of zippers I use, I'm just using a regular, this is a 1-inch zipper tape zipper. So just about 2.5 centimeters wide. And that, with our 1/4 inch seam allowance, gives us the right seam allowance as the pattern is designed to fit here. So you don't necessarily want to have a wider zipper based on how it all fits together. So just a regular zipper like this in the length based on the size you want to make. And that also goes for our for the pouch style as well. You just want the same type of zipper. And then we're going to need fabric for the outer part of our bag. So, whatever fabric you want for the outer. Then we're going to need some batting. So I just am using this this is like the cheapest batting that I could find. So probably this isn't what we would use necessarily in a really nice quilt. Maybe we would use a higher quality, like a warm and natural. This is like the cheapest batting that I can find, and it's about a 1/4 inch thick. So this is the type of batting that I'm using. So we need our outer fabric, we need our batting, and then we're going to need a lining fabric. And the lining, I'm just using the same cotton. So fabric recommendations, you can use anything from lightweight cotton. This is like an old tablecloth that's really, really, really soft. This was a pillowcase, so it's just like a cotton poplin. This is rather thick. This is like I would say like home deck type of fabric. Maybe you would use to cover like a chair or something like that. It was definitely a little bit more challenging to sew because of its thickness, but it worked totally. You just have to have a little bit more patience. So, and then the lining, I'm just literally using sheets or cotton poplin, anything that's a little bit more on the lighter weight side, really. And last but not least, you're going to want to have your zipper foot handy for your sewing machine. We're going to use this when we install the zippers. So the first step, no matter which style of bag we're making, is we need to quilt our outer fabric. So to do this, I actually cut separate pieces of my main outer fabric and my batting, and I cut them in a size that's just a bit larger than my actual piece. And then after I do the quilting, then I go back and actually cut out my actual pattern piece. So this way it gives you just a little bit of play in case, actually it's this one that I did, in case that your fabric shifts ever so slightly as you're quilting it. This way you have a little bit of extra room and you can cut it out after. So first thing that you're gonna need to do is just cut out your main outer fabric and then a corresponding piece of batting. And I like to press my outer fabric really, really well before I put it together with my batting. I find that it helps keep everything straight when I quilt it, especially with large pieces like this. So this is the side bag of the circle bag. So I'm going to show you how I quilt this. And so normally what I do is I use an invisible or a removable marking pen and a ruler, and I mark in my quilting lines approximately an inch apart. You can do them wider if you'd like, but this one, I'm actually just following the lines that I have, and I think it's going to be just really perfect. They're about 2 inches apart, so it definitely works if you do wider quilting as well. You could do squiggly lines, you could do horizontal, vertical, however you'd like. I usually like to do mine up and down, so vertically, like so, just because that's kind of the design that I like. But I've also seen them done in diamond patterns, so lots of different options here with the quilting. So I have my piece of outer fabric and my batting, and I'm going to take this to the machine and show you one quick tip I have for speeding up this process. So for a large piece like I have here, the bag side, I usually like to start myself out somewhere kind of in the middle of my piece and then work my way to the both outer edges. So I'm just going to start here on my first line, and I usually increase my stitch length to about a 3. I normally sew at a 2.5, so I just increase it once one size, I find that it just gives me a nicer looking stitch and kind of helps you maneuver over the batting. The other adjustment I make on my machine is I set my machine to stop with the needle down, and I'll show you why here in just a second. Okay, so I have my presser foot placed right along my stripe, and I'm just kind of smoothing everything out around where I'm going to sew, and I sort of grab my piece like this. I'm not necessarily pulling it, I'm just sort of holding it. And as I go, I'm just kind of holding it just so the fabric doesn't do that. And this becomes more important, especially as you get more lines sewn. And then I like to, rather than stopping, pulling out my thread, cutting the thread tails, I find that if I stop with my needle down right on the very edge of my fabric and then pivot and sew right along the edge of my fabric, sometimes I don't even catch the batting in this seam, I'm just sewing right along the edge. And then I stop again with my needle down at my next stitching point, which is right there. And then I turn the fabric. And so I'm working my way down without having to cut my thread tails every time. And I find that this just helps me get a little bit faster. So I'm going to keep quilting my fabric, just like this, kind of holding it tight, just like that. Okay, now that we have our fabric quilted, I'm going to show you the first steps that are the same for both the box bag and the little pouch. So view A, B, C, or D, the first step with the pocket and installing the zippers are exactly the same. So it doesn't matter what view you're making, let's start with our pocket. So I was looking around to find my pocket. So the first thing we're going to do is just take our little pocket and fold down along the fold line, and we're just going to sew right along the corners to finish off the upper edge of our pocket. Once I have that sewn, I'm just going to trim the little corners just to reduce some of the bulk there, and then I'll turn it inside out, or right side out, and I'll press under 1/4 of an inch around all the other edges to finish off the pocket. Okay, so here's my pocket. And now I'm going to take my lining fabric. Based on the view you're making, we want to place our pocket along the pocket marking based on the pattern. And I just kind of do that, and then I pin it, and I'm just going to sew around the 3 lower edges of the pocket. And this is how our pocket looks once finished. Super cute. So now let's tackle our zipper. So the first thing you want to do is just make sure you have your center point of your base. This is already the quilted, so our outer plus our batting. And we can just mark the center point of our zipper by folding it in half and then placing a little mark or a pin right at the center point mark. This just helps keep both sides of our bag lined up at the same point with our zipper. So your bag doesn't end up like that. It ends up perfectly centered. So just another little detail to help with that. Then we want to have our fabric right side up, our outer, and then we're going to place our zipper with the zipper pull down. So essentially right sides together, matching up that center point here, and matching up the edge of the zipper teeth with the cut edge of our batting outer piece. So just like that. And then I just take my lining piece, and for this first seam with the zipper, I want to make sure my pocket is up so that the pocket is facing upwards and not accidentally the wrong way. So then I'm going to place my lining right side down. So it's actually right side to right side of our quilting, but right side to the wrong side of our zipper in this case. And you just line up your center point marking again, and then I either pin this in place or clip this in place. Then we're going to take this piece as well as our zipper foot to the machine, and we're going to sew all along this seam. So I'm just going to make sure everything is nice and lined up. And we're going to sew this with a quarter, oops, I have my zipper foot on the wrong way. There we go. So we're gonna sew this with a 1/4 inch seam. So on my zipper foot, that means I just have a little bit of fabric hanging to the right over beyond my zipper foot there. And you know, the thing about these bags is they don't have to be perfect. So we're just gonna line up the edges of our fabric and just give this a back stitch. Just sew a 1/4 inch. Sometimes things kind of stretch a little bit because this batting piece is a little bit like lofty, so you kind of have to just readjust. And then I'll do the back stitch. Okay, and then when we fold this piece out, this is what we get. So we have our zipper, one side sewn. So now I just take this to the ironing board and I press this just like this, press the lining away from the zipper. And then I'm going to come back and sew another seam just about 1/8 of an inch from this fold. But first we need to give it a good press. And then I just change the position of my zipper foot and I'm going to sew about 1/8 of an inch from this fold line there. Do give it a back stitch. Okay, and now we are going to attach the second side of our zipper. So I have the zipper facing right side up, and I'm working with the little pouch bag. And so in this case, I'm just going to fold up the right side of my outer bag and just place it right over my zipper. So again, just right side of my quilted fabric to the right side of the zipper, matching up to the other side of my zipper tooth, matching your center point marking. And then on the other side, we're going to match our lining right side up to that wrong side of our zipper again. So this is how it looks with the pouch one. With the box bag, you're just gonna have another, you won't have this part folded. It will just be cut edges there, but it's the same. So going to do this neatly. Just get this lined up, place some clips, and then I'll bring up my lining. And I just get this all pinned together. And then I'm just going to sew that same 1/4 inch seam again to attach this to the other side. So again, just to review, I have the right side of my outer fabric, zipper facing up, lining up the cut edges with the upper edge now of our zipper tooth, with my lining right side together, to the wrong side. This is the wrong side of the zipper now, right side of the lining. And I'm just have those all lined up at the cut edges, the edge of that zipper tape, and I'm gonna sew the seam. And then for this bag, I'm going to open out my zipper so that I can press this side. Again, just like I did the other one, I'm going to press this away from my zipper and press the lining away, and then I'm going to just top stitch along this edge close to the fold there. Okay, and that is how we install our zippers. You see. You can see you have a really nice, neat edge. Yeah, really, really pretty. So now we're going to branch off, and I'm going to continue finishing the pouch, and I will timestamp also the flat styles. So for now, moving on, we're going to open out this again, but we're going to actually make it right sides together. So we are going to fold up our bag. You can match our corner points. So make sure everything gets lined up. Match up your lining, just like that. And we're gonna sew this seam. But it always gets a little confusing. What do you do with the zipper? Because you can't, it's like it has to go one way or the other. So you always want your zipper tape facing towards your main bag. So up here, so one side you definitely have to make sure you close your zipper, because you don't want your zipper pull over here, because then we're gonna lose it because we're gonna sew this seam. It's happened to me a couple of times. So just make sure you close your zipper just a bit. And then for the side, this side, we're just gonna fold our zipper like that and have the teeth facing the main bag. I can just put a little pin on, or a clippy on that. And then on the other side, we are just going to do the same. We're going to match up the ends of our zipper teeth as best you can there, and make sure that the zipper teeth, or the extra zipper part is facing towards your quilted part. We can just put a little clip there as well. So now I'm going to sew from here all the way here. And then on this side, I'm going to sew from here, and I'm going to stop here. I'm just going to start again here. So I'm going to leave a little opening here to turn this right side out, and then I'll just continue sewing all the way down just to the point here. Okay, have my sides sewn, have my little opening here. And now the very last step for this bag is I'm going to take my corners, and we're going to kind of pinch the sides until we get this opening to fold like this, almost like a little mouth. And it will fold in. And I kind of finger press my bottom seam there open, just to kind of reduce bulk. So we'll just kind of finger press it open. And then I'm just going to sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance right there. So you can definitely pin this. The first time it's a little bit tricky, but I just kind of finger press it. Definitely do a good back stitch here. You want this to be nice and strong. Didn't quite sew that very straight. There we have our corner. I'll do the same exact thing on the other side. Finger press this guy open. Okay, and then the last thing that I'm going to do is just trim off my extra zipper. This zipper was an extra long one, so I'm just going to kind of trim those off. Just be extra sure that your zipper pull is inside, that you're not going to cut it off accidentally. I only know because it's happened. So then I'll find my opening, and I'm going to turn this whole thing in right side out. Okay, oh my gosh, it's super cute. I knew this one was going to be really cute because I like this fabric. This was a duvet cover that I actually made a dress out of last summer, and I still had some scraps, so figured these would be really cute. I love it with the polka dot. Okay, so the very last step, I just kind of check the form. Now I want to kind of work out these corners. So what I do is I just kind of pull the lining. You almost have to just shape them just a bit and finger press, and then you can kind of get them to lay a little bit flatter. So this one, I'm just gonna press that. Just needs a little bit of like a press. We kind of do that, and then it makes a nicer corner like that. It's super cute, super cute. So then the very last step is I just go in and find the opening. And usually I have to kind of press this to get it nicely folded under. And I just go in with my sewing machine and kind of top stitch this. You can definitely slip stitch it by hand. I just find that it really isn't necessary to do this one by hand. That a little just sewing, right along the edge of the fold there works just fine. It's on the inside, you never really see it, and it's nice and secure. And then our bag is done. Okay, so now for our box bags. So I've already gone ahead and installed the zipper as we did before with our other size bag. So zipper is installed. I've also gone ahead and just sewn my pull tab in half lengthwise and pressed it with the seam. This one's kind of hard to tell, but the seam is just down the center. And now I'm just going to trim this in half. So I've just kind of folded it. I'm just going to cut it in half. And then I'm going to fold each one in half. And then each one of these is going to get centered over the zipper, just like that. But on this side, I actually need to open out my zipper. So I'm just gonna open it just a little bit like that, and then place my pull tab. So the pull tab is the same width as your zipper. So I like to just make sure that the ends of my zipper are matching up with my pull tab. So you kind of have to push the zipper together, and then we're just going to pin this. You can also clip this, probably better if I clip it, but. And then I'll just do the same to the other side, and then I'll take this to the sewing machine and I'll just baste it on. And I should note, we're going through all the layers. So I'm pinning this and I'm going to baste it through my top layer, my zipper, as well as my lining. So these all three just now are one piece, and we can just baste on our little pull tab. Okay, so I've got my pull tabs basted on, and now I'm going to pull apart my piece, matching my quilted pieces on one side and my lining pieces on the other. And next I'm going to sew these seams all the way from here, all the way to here. And then on my lining side, I'm going to sew from here about to here. I'm going to leave a pretty good size opening, and then I'll finish sewing here. So both of these sides. Okay, so I've got my seams sewn and I've got my little opening here. And now what we're gonna do is just kind of take it like that. We're gonna fold these short edges together. So you can start by maybe matching your quilted edges together and kind of hold those and then match up your lining. You could also press the seam open, or we can just kind of finger press it open just to distribute the bulk. And I'm going to pin this in place. Just like that. And I'll do the same thing on the other side. Again, you just want to make sure that your zipper pull is on this side because we're going to be sewing here and this is going to get cut away. So just match up my quilted pieces and then add my linings. Okay, so now I'm going to take this to the machine and I'm going to sew through all layers, just a seam here and a seam here. All right, I've sewn my seam here. You can see through all the layers and also on this side. And at this point, I usually am so curious that I kind of do this and I open, and I just like to kind of look and just make sure that like I caught everything and just kind of see how cute the little tab looks. So that's what I like to do at this point. Everything is looking good, so we can continue on with the last step of our bag. So this part is a little bit finicky, especially with the small bag, which is the one I'm making, but it definitely all works, and I'll show you my tips and tricks. So I'm just going to take my bag and kind of pinch these corners, and you just kind of fold it in. It's very similar to the pouch we just did. So we're just going to take the quarters and kind of make a mouth out of it. And from here, we can just place a pin or a clip. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. So I kind of like to do this in steps. So the first thing I'm going to do is do one side like this and do my lining here, or my outer. Okay. And now I'm going to take my lining. So our lining goes right over the top. So I'm going to kind of pinch my lining that's just connected to this side. And you kind of just have to stuff the bag inside so you can get it nice and smooth there. Okay, like that. And just make sure this is nice and straight, and I'll clip again. Add a couple other clips. And then I just go back to my other side and I do the same thing. Just like that. Okay, and so we could pin the other side, but see how flat this is? Because I've done both of the sides at once. And so I'm going to take this to my sewing machine and I'm going to sew it now. And then we're going to kind of unfold it and we'll go to the other side. So this is just the little trick I learned that makes this step a little bit easier. So we're just going to sew 1/4 inch right along here, just making sure we're catching all of our layers, and then a 1/4 inch here as well. So I just like to make sure I have all my layers. I may also, another little trick is I'm just going to pop in my zipper foot again since I have it here. And that way kind of helps me get closer because there's a lot of bulk here. And so with my zipper foot, I can kind of get in there a little bit better. And we will just start sewing. back stitch. Just continue to line up all of my layers. So there's one side sewn, and I'll do the other side just the same. Okay, so I have both of my corners sewn, and now we need to do the other two. So I kind of fold out my bag, and we're going to do the other side. So see how I just kind of folded it out again? And that way I can get into the other corners so much easier. I don't know why, it just helps to work one side by side at a time. So I have my clips here, so I'll just kind of clip this, and then I do the same with my lining. You can kind of just pull it over. And doing that. And then, oops, this side is ready as well. And lining up everything. And then I'll sew here again, or the first time, and here as well. Okay, so I sewed both of our final corners, and now using the little hole in our lining that we left, I can turn this right side out. And then I'll need to open the zipper a little bit. I probably should have left the zipper open a little bit more, but we can get it. And then we can turn it all the way and check out our bag. Oh, it's so cute. It's really sporty, this stripe. We can kind of just punch out the corners a little bit. Our little tab there. Super cute. It's so cute. It's really cute. So there's our tabs, our bottom. So the very, very last step is I just need to go in here with my lining, and just like our pouch bag, I usually just do a sewing machine stitch right along the edge of my lining. Okay, now moving on to our round pouch bag. I'm going to be using this fun leopard print from the outer part of my bag. I've already got my pieces quilted and cut out, and then I'll be using the black cotton for the lining. So the very first step is we're going to take our two pockets and we are going to place them right sides together. And we're going to sew all along one of the long edges with a 1/4 inch seam allowance right along this top edge. Once I have this seam sewn, I'm just going to press it open. And then I take this piece and I just fold it right sides together right along the seam line, and I'll press it again. So next I place my finished pocket piece right sides facing up with my outer bag lining. And I'm lining up these lower cut edges all along here. And then we want to mark in our stitching lines. So one of the stitching lines is right on the fold, and then one is here. So I just kind of lay my pattern piece and I place a pin here where I'm going to sew the pocket. You can also mark this with chalk or with a marking pen. I just place a pin, and that way I know where to start my sewing. And then I'm going to take this to the machine and I'm just going to sew from here, the top of the pocket, all the way down to here. And I'll give a good back stitch up here because this is going to form our pocket. So we want this seam to be really strong up here. So I'll just go and I'll sew all 3 of my pockets in. All right, now I have my pockets stitched down. So this becomes my new inner lining piece, and I'm going to fold it right sides together and sew this seam here. So I'll just place a pin there. We're going to sew this through all the layers. And then at the same time, I'm going to take my outer piece, and I'm going to sew it right sides together as well at our seam there. So we'll sew this seam and this seam. Okay, so I've got the seam sewn on my outer piece and as well as my lining. So now what I'm going to do is drop the lining inside of my outer bag, and I'm just going to match up the seam. Where is it? So I'm just going to slide my lining. So my lining is going to be right side to, so we're doing wrong sides together. And I'll just match up the seam there and place 1 pin. And then I kind of have to jiggle this around a little bit to get it all to fit. But I'm matching up the top edges first and just kind of pinning it around. And then I'll do the same along the bottom. Okay, so now I have my pocket piece all pinned in. You can kind of see the pockets are starting to take shape inside. So this is the top of my bag, the top where we're going to attach the channel for our strings. And then on the bottom, we're going to put our base. So for now, I'm going to work with the bottom area, and I'm going to take this to the machine and just baste these two, my lining and my outer together, just right along the edge here. And that's going to make it so much easier when we attach our base to this piece. Okay, so I've just basted the two together. Now I'm going to turn this right side out. Okay, and so then I'm going to take my base and I'm going to mark quarter points on this piece. So hopefully, yeah, so I have one quilting line that's directly down the center. So I'll use that, and then I'll fold it in half the other way. And then I just pop some pins right in the quarter point there. And then on this side, their quarter point. And so these quarter points on our base are going to match up with the pocket lines of our bag and the seam line. So the seam line is going to be a 1 quarter point, and then the pockets will be the others. So now all I need to do is, with my pocket right side facing up, I'll just find one of my first pockets, and I'm just going to line it up with my first pin. Just drop in the pin there, and then I'll keep going, and I'll do that with all the other quarter points. Okay, and then the next step is, if you want to place more pins in around these corners, you can, but in general, it fits really smoothly. If you take this to the sewing machine and just sew it inch by inch, it just fits right in the rounds quite nicely. If by chance maybe your pieces were just a little bit off when you cut them or something, you may have a little bit more of a challenge, and you can just go in and clip any of these curves that you want to fit a little bit better. But I take it to the sewing machine just like this, and I just work my way around sewing these two pieces together. Okay, so I like to start at one of my quarter points, and I just slide it right under my machine, get my 1/4-inch seam allowance lined up there, pull out my pin. I'm going to set my machine to stop in the needle down position. That will just help me navigate around the curve. And I'll start with a back stitch. Okay, so I've got my seam sewn, and now we can turn the bag right side out. And I always like to just double check, make sure that I got caught all of the layers in my seam, and just go along. It looks really, really good. My bag is starting to take shape. So now we can set this piece aside, and we're going to work on the casing part. So I've got my 2 casings here, right sides together, and I'm going to sew this seam and this seam, but we're going to need to leave it open between our 2 circle markings. So sew this, sew to here, back stitch, leave it open, start here, back stitch, and sew down. Okay, so this is what my ends look like on both sides. Kind of hard to see there. Now I'm just going to press these seams open. And then along the side that has our opening, so this side, I'm going to fold up a 1/4 inch along the entire long edge. And next, I'm going to fold this whole piece in half. I kind of fold out that fold that I just did so I can match up the raw edges, and just fold this entire piece in half lengthwise. Okay, so now I'll just kind of refold under that 1/4 inch along one of my edges, and voila, our casing is ready to attach to the top of our bag. Okay, so I'm going to grab my bag again, and we're going to be working on this very top edge. I have my layers pinned together. You can definitely baste these edges together just like we did on the bottom to secure all of the layers together. At this point, I just use pins because it's not too tricky to get into. So you can definitely do that step if you feel more comfortable. And then we're going to take our casing that we just prepared, and I'm going to fold it out again. And I'm going to be working with the side that is not folded under. So this cut edge side, and I'm going to be placing it right side to the inside of my bag. So this may seem a little counterintuitive because we're going to have a raw edge on the outside of our bag, but what we're going to do then, we're going to sew this seam, and then this is going to fold over, and then we're going to top stitch from the front, and that's going to give us a nice clean look from the outside of our bag. So it's a little counterintuitive, but trust me, it works out in the end. So I'm just going to pin this casing in place, again, right side to the inside of my bag. So just kind of work my way around. Okay, now that I have this all pinned into place, I'll take it to my machine, and I'm just going to sew the 1/4 inch seam all the way around. All right, so I've got my casing all sewn on, and now at my ironing board, I'm just going to open out the casing, and from the inside, I'm just going to press this seam, we want the seam to press up towards the casing. It will fall that way naturally anyways, but we just want to make sure. And I'm just lightly pressing this because I don't want to press out the center fold that I have and all of that. So just kind of lightly pressing this seam in from the inside. And once I have it pressed just a bit, I'm going to then fold my casing along the fold line that we pressed in, and that should place it right over our seam, just like that. And we have our opening that opens out. We're going to thread our straps through in a minute, but I will go through and fold my strap down and then either pin this or clip this, and then I will top stitch right along that folded edge through all layers. Okay, so I have it all pinned on, and this is what it looks like from the inside. And then you can see on the outside, I've just got it pinned right along where I'm going to stitch. So in order to stitch this from the top side, I need to just flip my bag inside out. So I'm going to do that carefully. And then I have the right position to then just go and top stitch right along the folded edge there through all the layers. Okay, so I've just gone ahead and pressed this casing just a bit so it's nice and tidy and it's all secured down. So now the very last thing that we need to do is prepare our straps. So I've got my straps already cut and I'm here at the ironing board, and one of the tricks I have is I use a bias tape maker that fits a 1-inch strip. So what I'm going to do is run my straps through my bias tape maker in order to make the straps. But you can also just fold under 1/4 inch on either side, either long side of your strap, and then we'll fold it in half. So either way, but if you don't have a bias tape maker like this, definitely worth investing in one. They're super, super handy. Okay, so I have my straps pressed one side, about 1/4 inch on either side. And now I'm just going to finger press this piece down the middle. So just folding it into our strap, and then I am just sewing right along the edge of the fold line there. Okay, so I have my straps all ready to go, and I'm going to grab 2 safety pins, and I'm going to show you how we're going to weave our straps through our casing in order to get the double-sided, so that when you pull either side, it actually closes. So I'm just going to secure one of my safety pins to each of my straps, just at the end like that. So I'm just going to find one side of my opening and just start feeding my strap through. And I'm going to keep feeding this through all the way back out of the same exact opening. So as we come to the other side opening, we're just going to bypass it. Okay, so as I come, we just are pulling that end through the exact same opening, and I can, oh, oops, well, lost my safety pin. Thank goodness it wasn't still inside. And I'm just kind of working this out So I have my 2 straps coming here. Now I'm going to take my other strap that I fed through these with the safety pin, and I'm going to start on this side. So we'll find my opening and we'll just start threading this through all the way, bypass here all the way, and come out here on the other side. Okay, and then all the way through the other side. Give this a little pull it all through. Just making sure I didn't lose those either. Okay, and then you can see when you pull either side, you have the closure. When you open this, it opens smoothly and evenly on each side. So that's how we do that type of strap. It's really cool. And so now what I'm going to do is just take out this safety pin, and then on either side, I can just match up my raw edges of my straps and then give it a knot. So knot them together. It's a little bit tricky, but we can just do this. And I want to slide that knot to the very, very, very end. Give it a good pull, and then I can take my scissors and just kind of trim it so it's a little bit neater. And voila, we have our knot at the end. Do the same thing to the other side. Okay, so our bag is looking really, really good. There's just one last thing to finish, and that is the inside lining. We have one piece left to attach, so I'm going to show you how we do this. Okay, so this part could seem a little bit intimidating, but I promise you it's really, really quite simple. So I have my bag with the inside out, and what I'm going to do is just kind of flatten it down just a little bit so it becomes a circle. You can see very similar. So then I'm just going to place my lining bottom over my base, and I'm going to pin it along. Okay, so now that I have my base pinned on, we are going to sew all the way around, right along our previous stitching line, but we're going to leave about a 3 or 4 inch opening on one side so that we can turn this to the inside out. And then we're going to need to just hand close that last bit. But for now, I'm just going to sew all the way around the edges, just leaving that opening. So one little trick for sewing this area is to use your zipper foot. And this just helps to make it a little bit easier to get right close to our seam there, because this is ever so slightly bulky. So I'm just going to pick my place to start, kind of flatten out everything, put this under the machine, and then I can start sewing. Okay, I've sewn my circle, and now we can just finally turn this to the right side. Okay, so I have my bag turned all the way right side out. You can see the pockets. Well, you can't actually see. There you can see. So the very, very last thing I need to do is just go back and sew that last bit by hand with a little slip stitch to close up the bottom, and then our bag is done. This one turned out super cute, and I just have to show you, I have these shoes that actually inspired this bag. So now I have a cute little set. So it's funny how something, it could be very casual for toiletries, but I'm also making it into a little chic handbag. So I hope this tutorial has been helpful for how to sew your own cosmetic bags. I hope you have a ton of fun with this. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.